putting exogenous ketones aside, what about things like MCT oil, other supplements people can use to hack ketosis?
So MCT oil has been shown to be beneficial, at least in Alzheimer's. There were quite a few papers published and case studies published using MCT for Alzheimer's, and it has been, quite useful in the mildly cognitively impaired individuals as well. But for some reason, it hasn't really gone through to the mainstream. I think the main reason is that, one, it does not raise your ketone levels to a high enough level. It's very comparable to ketone salts, actually. And two, it also does cause GI issues. I don't know if you've taken it, MCT. If you take too much, you do have the runs with MCT.
Yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah, so I think that's the drawback there, and especially with ketone-iq coming into the market since 2022, a lot of people find that it is a much better alternative in terms of, one, the reliability in raising blood ketone levels, and two, the absence of GI issues.
What about other supplements? Anything else in that realm that people are using?
For ketosis, I think, let me think. I mean, we talked about ketone salts, we talked about ketone esters, and then there is MCT. There are some new ones coming. There are some new ones that are trying to get into the market. Free BHB, or they call it free acid BHB. It's basically pure BHB, and people and they play on, or they either play or prey on people's naivety or people's lack of understanding of the science, because they're like, well, we want to raise blood BHB, so surely you want to take the pure BHB, and logically, rationally, the rationale is sound, right? You want to raise your blood BHB, so you take the exact molecule, which is BHB. However, they did not tell people that the reason why ketone ester was invented in the first place was because free BHB does not work as well, because you need a high level of BHB, you need a high dose. But the problem is, it is in its acid form. Imagine ingesting acid directly. We've tried that in our studies with SOCOM. I myself have ingested it myself to test it. It was bad. It was like drinking acid, right? So you'll have acid reflux, you have heartburn. One of our researchers, she almost died because we had the same dose as the ketone ester at that point, which was very high. And she was like, we're not continuing with this study. It is impossible for people to drink this. That's why ketone ester was created, so that it can enter your body and then get broken down into BHB and butanediol, and then butanediol goes into your liver and get processed into BHB. Same thing with ketone-iq. It goes to your liver, and your liver acts as that barrier and also as a measurement, so that it doesn't produce too much BHB. So the problem we had with ketone ester, as I said, it spikes your BHB too quickly because half of it is BHB. So there is no gatekeeper there. So it breaks down in your gut, and then half of it, the BHB, goes straight into your blood. The butanediol goes to your liver, and nothing is stopping your blood ketone levels to go so high that you are acidifying your blood. Whereas ketone-diol, like ketone-iq, it goes to your liver, and it is being gate-capped by the liver. So the liver is getting signals from the rest of your body, is saying either, hey, I have enough energy, stop converting it into BHB, converting it slower, or hey, I've got enough ketones. So we've run our internal study, and an increased dose, even at the highest dose, people are not getting blood ketone levels above 2.5, which is a good thing, because just because something is good doesn't mean more is better. There's this mentality we have here in the US. Oh, when something is good, more is better. Let's look at money, right? Having money is great, but more doesn't mean better. You see the miserable people around here, and how, same with vitamin C, right? Vitamin C is great, antioxidant, right? More does not mean better. You're going to end up peeing a very expensive pee, right? So everything about metabolism is a optimal zone thing. It's always a oscillating wave where you need to just maintain it within that optimal zone. You don't want to shoot it up too high, and you don't want it to crash too low.
Well, keeping what you just said there in mind, what about complements to exogenous ketones? Things like caffeine. You mentioned before there is actually caffeine in one of the shots, depending on what you end up getting.
Yep.
So talk about the interaction there, and then other substances that have a good synergistic effect with ketones.
Great. Okay, let's talk about caffeine first, because caffeine is out there already. So I take it in the morning for my fasted workout because I need to wake up and the caffeine sort of kicks in. But I also personally can't handle a lot of caffeine. I get headaches. If I have coffee, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink Red Bull. It gives me a headache. Like, that level of caffeine is just too much. Whereas one shot of ketone-iq with caffeine is only 100 milligrams of caffeine from green tea, and then 5 grams of ketone. So that gave me a lot of synergistic effect for my workout in the morning. Some people, however, they love their coffee. They love their morning coffee. They can't live without, right? So they stick with their coffee, and then they take the non-caffeinated ketone. So they're still mixing caffeine and ketones and having the same effect, but it's just at different sources. People use it for pre-workout, caffeine and ketones. That's perfectly fine. If you think about it, caffeine is a stimulant. It increases your heart rate, increases your blood pressure. It really stimulates your brain activity and your overall sort of metabolic activity, right? However, it is not a fuel source. It increases your activity. Where are you getting the energy from? You are still drawing the energy from within your body, all the fuels, all sources, and storage within your body. Ketones, on the other hand, is not a stimulant, and it directly provides the fuel source that your body needs. That's where it synergizes, right? One increases activity, the other provides the energy that you need for the activity. Other substances, I feel like I'm going to get into trouble because I'll say something that in studies that we have seen to be synergistic, but our regulatory people are going to be like, you can't make those claims yet until we have approval from FDA. But I can say I myself use it. I use before bed with melatonin and L-theanine, and it helps me with my sleep. What else? There is a theory, I'm talking about theory, there's no study so far, that psychedelics may also work well with it. We are talking to have a study right now, actually, with one company based in Portland. They're interested to use ketones in their patients who are using psychedelics as treatment, because, again, in functional MRI, they saw an increase in brain activity when people take psychedelics. And we have seen that in ketones during fMRI as well, there is increase in interaction between the brain regions. So there is increase in crosstalk between the brain regions, and that sort of network stability increase with ketones, even with just one dose of ketones, which is very, very strong evidence that it could work synergistically.
Interesting. Come back to the sleep piece. Intuitively, ketones wouldn't be something people would think to take before bed.
Correct.
Talk
because
about the science there.
You think about energy, right? You think about energy shot, or like it gives you energy. Why would you take it before bed, when you don't need energy? Technically, you do need energy when you sleep as well, because your brain works very hard during sleep hours, because it's consolidating the memories throughout the day, the learnings and all of that, right? And your muscles are recovering. It's building your blood vessels and your muscle fibers, rebuilding all of that during sleep and during rest. So your body does need energy. But why ketones are not going to interrupt your sleep is that, like I said earlier, it's not a stimulant like caffeine. Caffeine works specifically in blocking your receptors so that you don't feel fatigue, so you don't feel tired, and therefore it will affect your sleep levels. Your sleep quality. Ketones, on the other hand, because it's just a pure energy source, your body can use it. It does not necessarily keep you awake per se. Now, my take to, my protocol to take it before bed is literally take it right before bed. If I take it like an hour, 2 hours early, yes. And then if I start doing something else, then my brain will start getting active. So take it right before, and it helped. And one of my, a lot of the athletes I work with, they tried it and they measured their sleep scores, and it worked for maybe 8 out of 10 people. So I would say it worked for most people. Some people, they don't like it, they can't take it before bed, and so you have to try and trial and error and figure it out. But I would say if you have an Oura ring, a Whoop, or whatever, the best way is the objective measure of your sleep quality.
In your case, where you're having over 100 grams of carbs a day, I don't think this would work. But somebody who is on a low-carb diet or even a keto diet, but having trouble producing ketones, I could see there being a place for using exercise as a way to bring blood glucose down, bring insulin down, and help get into that state. Have you seen that work for people that are in that position?
I have not seen it myself, but theoretically it should work. I mean, there's no reason why it shouldn't, because like you said, like exercise will increase insulin sensitivity. So it will, really react to your insulin when you have a meal. So your muscles will pull in glucose based on the insulin signal because it needs the glucose for recovery. Now, if you couple that with a low carb diet, obviously that will have a strong effect on the insulin as well. And therefore you start creating ketones, when you sleep and all of that. So theoretically it should work.
Any other tactics? Somebody that's trying to get into ketosis through the diet, but they're measuring, they're getting 0.4, 0.5, 0.3, finding it tricky to get beyond that threshold of 0.5, other than exogenous ketones. Any other hacks?
So exercise is definitely one big piece of it. Some people, it might be worth measuring your hormones as well. So some people have that problem because of hormonal problems to begin with. So you might have to fix that. I don't know specifically what hormones, but you have to work with an endocrinologist or work with your doctor to figure out why your body is so inflexible that it's not producing ketones. Or some people maybe, are very efficient at metabolizing ketones that your body is not producing enough for it to be seen in the blood. Very rarely, but there have been people who are like that.
Talk more about that. I wanted to go there. So in the beginning, somebody who is new to ketosis through the diet and they're producing ketones on their own, how does that efficiency change over time? And obviously you alluded to, it's going to depend on the person.
Yep.
And this is important. If somebody's measuring and they're noticing their ketones going down, could that just be, and it sounds like it could be, the fact that their body's just utilizing them better and not wasting them?
This is what we have seen in people who are measuring people who are measuring ketone levels, who are on keto diet using P strips or breath meters. Because as I said earlier, P strips, you're usually measuring acetoacetate. Breath meters, you're measuring acetone. Two of which form of ketones, which are less stable than BHB. As your body is more and more adapted to ketones and ketone metabolism, your body will hold on to more BHB form. And therefore, you'll see less acetoacetate and less acetone as a byproduct. So the more accurate measurement would be blood ketone, because blood ketone levels are reflective of your blood BHB levels. So that's one, right? And if even when you do that, you find that your blood BHB level is getting lower over time, then double check whether there are any sneaky sources or sneaky snacks that you've introduced into your diet that may contain sugar that could spike your insulin that is causing that. Or it could be that your body is becoming more efficient, that your body is using up all the ketones before it can accumulate in the blood system. But I would say Generally, that's not the case. A lot of people would like to think that they're very efficient, but your body knows best. It knows how to, really make sure that you have enough resources.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're gonna wanna head over here and catch the full episode. I'll see you over there.
So you're already insulin resistant, you're overweight. What's happening within your body is that your cells are so full. They are so full of substrates and fuel that it can't take no more. Going on a keto diet is a great option.